Super affordable choices in the supermini sector are usually pretty dull. Here's one that isn't. Mitsubishi's Colt. Is it worth a place on your shopping list? Let's find out.
If you're going out to buy a supermini, then you're probably going out to buy something like a Ford Fiesta or a Vauxhall Corsa, or maybe even a Peugeot 207, a Renault Clio or a Fiat Grande Punto. Part of our job here, though, is to suggest that there are other alternatives in the supermini sector. Here's one, Mitsubishi's Colt. Looks quite smart, doesn't it? Okay, so I've cheated a bit by showing you the sporty Rally Art model here, but even the more mundane 1.1 and 1.3 litre shopping runabout models can look quite distinctive if you spec them right. Now, this Dutch-built design was first introduced in 2004, where it shocked the market by being one of the first in many generations of the Colt model to be truly supermini class competitive. It slipped back into the background once more in recent years, however, hence the need for this facelifted version introduced late in 2008. Let's take it out on the road, see what it's like. So what is it like to drive? Well, despite all the sporty bits on this model, it's true to say that the driving experience here is more competent than cutting edge. But though that's probably quite sufficient for the needs of its target market. School-run mums will like the way that you sit up nice and high, while their teenage sons will appreciate the slick gear change and the way the grippy front end hangs on through the corners. Indeed, if it weren't for the slightly vague response from the electrically assisted power steering and the extra bit of body lean that you get from the tall shape, then you'd be tempted to call this supermini sporty. The characterful burble that you get from the entry-level 1.1 litre unit certainly qualifies on that score, while this 147 brake horsepower German-built 1.5 litre turbocharged engine makes rest to 60 in just 7.4 seconds on the way to a top speed of 131 miles an hour. And that's Mini Cooper-esque kind of performance for over £4,000 less. In the 1.3 litre petrol version that most will choose, things can get a bit raucous if you drive at that kind of pace. But it's nothing too over the top, and all the engines on offer are reasonably refined as long as you don't ask too much from them. More importantly, parking is easy, although the thick front windscreen pillars that help make the Colt a safe haven in a crash do impede a little bit on this score. The turning circle is tight too. The wheel at each corner stance helping very much when it comes to that. Urban dwellers will also want to consider the 6-speed all-shift semi-automatic transmission that's available on the 1.3. Does this front end remind you of a jet fighter? No, me neither. But that was apparently Mitsubishi's objective with this facelift. What they had managed to do is bring in some kind of shared family resemblance with their iconic Lancer Evo 10 performance car. And that's quite a feat, bearing in mind that this model's tall, boxy shape would normally bring to mind something far more utilitarian and MPV-like than anything really racy. Now, the restyle has brought revised front headlamps and revised bumpers. At the rear, 5-door versions like this one get darker, restyled tail lights, and there's a redesigned tailgate. Overall though, the shape is much as before, with a nuggety compactness to it that pleases. Inside, the high roof level makes it feel quite spacious, and there's plenty of head and leg room for backseat passengers. It is worth pointing out though that if you prioritise boot space, then there's slightly less than is available with some supermini rivals. 186 litres is what you get with all the seats in place. If you fold the seats down, you can extend that to 368 litres with all the seats flat. Still, the space that is on offer is uniformly shaped, so sliding in bulky items ought to be a straightforward task. At the wheel, the dash is simple with large, clear instruments and buttons that you should find easier to locate and straightforward to use. It's a pity that the wheel adjusts only for height and not for rake, but the Colt as a supermini isn't alone in this respect, and most drivers ought to be able to get pretty comfortable, though the seat bases are a little bit flat, which you really feel on longer journeys. Now, prices are on the affordable side for the supermini sector, ranging between £8,000 and £13,000. In real terms, you're probably looking at a reduction of £2,000 to £3,000 over a comparable Ford Fiesta or Vauxhall Corsa, and that's a significant saving. The CZC Cabrio version is even more affordable, retailing between £10,000 and £11,000, and it's hard to think of an affordable open top that can match that. Now, there are 3 body styles from which would-be Colt customers can choose across a petrol-only range. Diesels no longer make it here. 3 and 5 door hatchbacks will suit most, but there's also the option of the rather gender-specific CZC Cabrio model with its folding metal roof. That's the only variant to feature the 107 brake horsepower, normally aspirated 1.5 litre engine. Now, if you go for a hatchback Colt, your car will likely come fitted with either a 74 brake horsepower 1.1 litre unit or a 94 brake horsepower 1.3 litre unit. That's assuming you can resist the charms of this turbocharged 147 brake horsepower 1.5 litre engine. All models feature a CD player with MP3 connectivity, plus lighting that guides you to your front door at night, as well as power steering, a vehicle immobiliser, electric front windows and remote locking. From a safety point of view, it's nice that you get twin front airbags and hazard lights that flash under emergency braking. Less good that most variants don't have the option of side airbags or the kind of ESP stability control system that gets you out of trouble in slippery conditions or if you enter a corner too fast. Returning 51.4 and 48.7 miles per gallon respectively on the combined cycle. The 1.1 and 1.3 litre petrol models are reasonably economical, if not especially green. CO2 figures are either 130 for the 1.1 or 143 for the 1.3. The 1.5 litre turbo version that I'm driving here manages 41 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and puts out 161 grams per kilometre of CO2. If you go for the CZC 1.5 litre Cabrio version, you return 42.8 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and you should get 157 grams per kilometre of CO2. Insurance? Well, you get stung at Group 14 on this turbo version, but if you've got a normal 1.1 or 1.3 hatch, you're looking at Groups 4 to 5 and Group 8 for the CZC Cabrio. Residual values after 3 years or 36,000 miles should be up at around 40%. Now, that's a few percentage points down on obvious rivals, but bear in mind that you should be paying less to start with. Mitsubishi service intervals are every 12,500 miles, and you get a 3-year unlimited mileage warranty, 12 years of anti-corrosion perforation warranty, and 3 years of pan-European assistance at home, for accident and on the road. Once upon a time, you used to know where you stood with a Mitsubishi Colt. It would be reliable, fairly spacious, but really rather dull. Today's model offers a bit more than that. It's still dependable and roomy, but has more than a splash of its own identity. You also get a supermini that's fun to drive and won't crash in value the moment you drive it off the dealer's forecourt. Those are commendable qualities for any small car. Other rivals are larger, some feel more upmarket or are better to drive. Only the most unremittingly dull, however, can get anywhere near its affordable sticker price, a purchase figure that could save you a significant amount over more obvious rivals. All of which, you might think, might make this a rather clever choice for the thinking supermini buyer.